The wild drops in the stock market from the spring, well, they're back. The Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ saw their worst day in months after disappointing jobs numbers were released this very morning. Now, that along with strong downward revisions for May and June's job numbers, well, they set off alarm bells on Wall Street. President Trump's response? Fire the messenger. The Bureau of Labor Statistics chief.
We're doing so well. I believe the numbers were phony, just like they were before the election. And there were other times. So you know what I did? I fired her. And you know what? I did the right thing.
Well, then the next ball dropped. Fed Governor Adriana Kugler announcing that she's resigning, opening up a coveted spot on the Fed Board of Governors, one the president now gets to fill, of course. Trump claims she resigned was a disagreement of some sorts with the Fed Chief Powell to lower interest rates.
She disagreed with too late. You know what too late is? She disagreed with too late on the interest rate. So we'll see what happens. But we just found out that I have a open spot on the Federal Reserve Board. I'm very happy about that.
I love a good nickname. Joining me now is Courtney Brown. She's a senior economics reporter at Axios. Michael LaRosa, he's a former special assistant to President Biden. And Brian Lanza, he was a senior advisor for the Trump-Vance campaign. Well, Courtney, let me begin with you because the jobs numbers this morning, well, set off some concern, it seems. What happened? And are these revisions that Trump is complaining about, are those actually unusual?
All I can say is buy your fellow economics reporter a drink. We all have a tough day. I think at 8:29 this morning, 1 minute before the jobs report came out, we thought everything was fine. Economy was chugging along. Everything was resilient. 8:30 a.m. the number hits, and that narrative completely changes. The labor market added 73,000 jobs in July. Turns out that's not a great number, but it's actually a pickup from what happened in May and June, given the revisions. The BLS made the largest revisions over the course of 2 months on record, if you exclude the pandemic period. And it blows my mind how much we're rethinking the state of the economy right now because of this report.
Talking, Michael, because Trump is claiming, of course, that the numbers are rigged, that these numbers are manipulated for political reasons, that the person, the BLS administrator, was a Biden appointee and she was trying to get Biden elected by manipulating numbers. What's your response to those claims?
Well, then he's really not going to like the acting replacement at first because he's a Yale-educated Obama appointee. So when the inflation numbers come out in 2 weeks, let's see what he does after that report comes out, because he could fire the replacement. Who knows? But no, these numbers have been reported this way through the same formula since 1940 under FDR when the BLS started this formula. All presidents have worked with the disclosure of employment numbers exactly this way. Over 100,000 businesses every month talk to BLS reporting, or I'm sorry, they actually what they do is fill out a survey, right? And not all the numbers are there for the first of the month. So the BLS goes back to those employers, updates the information twice over the month. And that's where the revisions come in. But I will give the president credit for consistency because a year ago I was having to explain this process to another network that was saying Biden was cooking the books on the job numbers. But no, this is just how it's always been under every president, including Trump 1.
Well, you wonder how it will be going forward if people believe that somehow it would be rigged now to show political continuity or success stories. There's always a confidence issue with people who don't necessarily understand the numbers or the processes are wondering how it will be now. But let me ask you this, Brian, because Steve Bannon earlier in the day, he was musing that a MAGA choice should be at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and then, well, Trump fired her. Why?
I mean, gosh, she's gotten it wrong for 4 years. I mean, this is a person who's had to revise the numbers more so than any Bureau of Statistics person during Trump and during Obama. I mean, she's clearly a failure getting the numbers wrong. She's gotten the failure consistently wrong during Biden, and she got it wrong this time. I mean, at some point you have to have accountability. You know, if you're in the private sector and you come up with numbers like this and they get revised to this number, you don't have a job the next day. and Trump's bringing the private sector sort of experience to this. You have a huge variations in numbers throughout her 4 years or 3 years as tenure, and that's a problem because those.
But I thought they were normal in some ways to have revisions, though.
Yes.
But not at this.
Normal.
But you just
To
said it's
this
the largest
extent,
revision,
no.
so that's not normal.
Yeah, and so this is something that happens with Trump is there is like a little bit of truth there, right? These revisions are exceptionally large. The BLS said so this morning. There are data.
We're also in an exceptionally large trade war across the entire
There are
world.
big changes happening in the economy right now that make the economy more difficult to measure. One of them is President Trump's immigration policies that are, messing or changing the population. Not commenting on it one way or another. It just these changes are hard for the BLS to account for.
These revisions took place during Biden as well, and there wasn't an immigration, crackdown.
But there was
that took
COVID,
place.
right? Another huge shock to the
Sure,
economy.
sure. Yeah.
So,
Important to know that the administrator who he fired is not a political person. She is a long-time bureaucrat. This is a bureaucratic position, essentially.
Deep state.
Well, no, not
Did you say deep state then?
Yeah,
it's important to realize she doesn't see the numbers until the morning of, just like the president and the Council of Economic Advisors. She's not looking at the hundreds of thousands of surveys coming in over the course of a month. She's reporting them to the White House. She's seeing them at the same time they are.
Well, this person was fired. Somebody else resigned, though. Tell me the significance, of course, of the fact that somebody who's a member of the governor for the Fed is resigning, leaving a spot open for Trump to fill. How significant is this moment?
now he gets a chance to shape the Fed board. A few months earlier than he would have gotten the opportunity to, there has been conversation about whether President Trump would fill this seat with the person who he eventually sees as being the leader of the Fed, and does this person kind of act like a shadow Fed chair and confuse financial markets by giving certain guidance that may or may not be consistent with what Fed Chair Powell is saying. But it's my understanding the president wants to move quickly on this, announce a replacement for former Governor Kugler, or as of next Friday, former Governor Kugler. So here, this is his big moment. He's been railing the Fed for months and months and months. This is his moment to leave a mark on the Fed.
Can he seize this moment appropriately? He's talking about the renovations as his real issue, and of course, he can't just take away Jerome Powell. There's actual steps in place, and something else besides this. Is this the right strategy?
Yeah, I mean, look what happened recently. You had two board of governors go against, Chairman Powell with respect to the interest rate, lack of hike. So there's clearly division, within the Fed board, and we need consistency. And there's inconsistency because the vast markets throughout the world, those big economies, they're dropping interest rates. We're the only big economy that's not dropping interest rates, and it's now starting to look fishy. And President Trump's gonna have a moment. I know they're focused on this. They're gonna probably roll out somebody in the next 10 days with respect to this. But it's a big moment for him, and he is fighting for the Fed for it actually to be, consistent with what the world economy looks like.
Fishy or prudent?
Who appointed Jerome Powell to the Fed?
Oh, I know this one. Oh,
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think I'll just.
there you go. I just leave it there. I got it right on Friday night. Everyone, thank you. Take that, economics professor. I know that. This listening, everyone, thank you so much. Hey, listen, the trial is over.